This is what fascinates me.
It does. Now, one thing I will say, and maybe I misheard you at the beginning. You know, this last week, NASA said that they found life on Mars, microbes.
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not contradicting you. I don't know. But,
it was on NASA's website if you want to check it out, and also it was on the news and on CNN and a whole bunch of other places that NASA said that they have found microbes on Mars.
Okay. Well, I'll need to check into that. But like I said, I believe that would be a first step. Okay. Yeah. The only reason why I'm questioning it all at the moment is because it can and should be done in a way that it's really a big official announcement somehow, not just an article on a website or something. But I'll if you'd allow me to check into that further.
Oh, yeah, please do, because again, I read it, I heard it, and saw it on NASA website that they said that they just kind of brushed it off. They said that they found microbes, living microbes on Mars. And it was just like, I listened to it and I go, oh, well, I figured maybe he has something, but I wasn't where I was like in shock about it.
Well, I'm looking at the NASA website right now, and they've got Europa. NASA scientists confirmed water vapor on Europa, a moon from Jupiter. Sugars and meteorites give clues to origin of life. They have that. And again, I'm not contradicting you.
This is about
Mars.
About a week ago, and it was all over the news. So I'm just saying what I heard and saw. So I mean, again, what can I say other than that? I don't know if you heard anything, James, because you keep up with the news.
I hadn't heard much on that. I heard something about they was sniffing some oxygen was acting funny, or some oxygen was acting weird on Mars, but I hadn't come across the one about microbes.
Yeah. Also, you're right about the oxygen. Depending on the season on Mars, the oxygen level rises and falls, which they're trying to figure out why on that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and I'm looking at an article right now about them, about that subject, and there's another article on the internet about new Mars rover will visit perfect spot to find signs of life, say scientists. So, there's been a lot of talk about this kind of on the periphery, and it seems logical to me that would be the big revelation would be that they found evidence of at least microbial life on Mars.
Yeah, I would at least that would get people to start thinking if that happens, and then there's other life. But, again, even from that to, being visited by aliens and humanoids and whatever, that's a big jump. Okay? I mean, people can accept, oh, yeah. But, I have to be honest with you. People are so naive and conceited. If people think we're the only life, okay? Excuse me, I had a cough there.
Yeah.
That if we're the only life out there, then they are really naive.
Oh, gosh. I mean, when you estimate the number of stars in the universe, a billion, trillion, okay? To think that we're the only planet in the universe that has intelligent life, we'd have to be living in the most statistically weird universe imaginable.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know what scares me? I think what Steve Hawkins said before he passed on. He said the dumbest thing we ever did was give our address out and broadcast it out. Because we don't know who's going to come knocking on our door. I mean, seriously, I think we've done some really crazy things, and we don't know What type of civilizations are out there? Yeah, and what they think about us as humans. They might not look at us as anymore as insects, and they wouldn't even care. Then again, there might be out there, like we were talking before, where they show compassion. I don't know. Virtually, though, I will say this, and then, I'll let you say what you ever want to say here for the last 10 minutes. I just feel that any credible guest I've had on for all the years that claimed that they had some type of encounter with somebody from an off-world experience of being abducted, they all came back and said the same thing to me, that they were evil, they were not here to serve man, and a lot worse things that they have said. I mean, that's the part that I'm just saying, that something is going on, and we need to figure out what is going on. And if the government isn't going to tell us, we need people like you to, try to chase down and put something together, at least to let us know that maybe we've been lied to. That's all.
Well, and I hear people I hear about people trying to organize efforts to pressure Congress or pressure the government into disclosing information. And I've been around long enough, Gary, and you and I both have, to know that as late as the 1970s, the late 60s, you had 100,000 people demonstrating on the National Mall, begging the government to end the Vietnam War. And in theory, Congress could have just defunded it. They could have stopped it if they wanted to. And I don't think that writing a few letters to our congressmen are going to induce the government and the Defense Department and all that, to disclose anything. Now, you're concerned about the possible negative aspects of alien visitation, and there are certainly enough opinions about that. And I think that one thing that people forget is that, assuming that we are being visited and that we're being messed with and manipulated, that these aliens and these alien groups are doing things for their purposes. They're not doing things for our purposes, and they're most likely not doing it for our benefit. And there are stories that are possibly being suppressed of human mutilations, because we're all aware of the cattle mutilations. Okay, and
can I jump in on that? I had some pictures from a government employee that I just took off my computer about a month ago because I couldn't look at it anymore. This guy had the highest top clearances you could have. He worked for an agency that it started off with a C and ended up with an I. And that's all I'm going to say. And he sent me some pictures of human mutilations. And when I looked at those, that made me just sick. But I'd find myself ever so often looking at these things. Now, the last cattle mutilations that happened in Oregon, and I can't think of his name, but a famous pathologist came out and said, look, these animals are being mutilated while they're living, while they're standing up. And he said again, like when the eyes are removed, like from the bulls or, the cattle, that if they were laying down and the eyes were removed, the liquid between the brain and the eyes would run off to the side of the head. In these cases, and in most of them that he's investigated, the liquid matter from the brain has not ran off to the side of the head, which would point that the creature or the cattle would be already laying on its side. It's running off the nostril, which means whatever's happening to these cattle is happening while they're still standing. So they're not caring about what the creature is feeling pain. They don't care. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. And, I don't know if any of this is true, but if it is true, it's certainly matter of great concern. And if covert elements within the government were involved in some of this, or if they know about it, it's certainly understandable why they wouldn't want to talk about that. And like I said earlier, there's a possibility that we're in the area of be careful what you ask for, because you may not want to hear the answer.
Well, you're right. I mean, would you want to know if you asked the government, because, all these near miss of asteroids, there's a big one coming by tonight. It's huge. Okay. It's over 2,000 feet. Now, would you like to sit there and ask, well, hey, is the asteroid going to hit us in the next year or the next 5 years? Would you want the answer if they knew?
Well, I guess we could think about that, but I don't know if they could predict exactly where it's going to hit, or what effect it would actually have. I think that you can make an argument both ways. That the public is better off not knowing, and then just deal with the situation when it happens. If you give the public advance knowledge, what are people going to do if you don't know exactly where it's going to hit and what the effect's going to be?
If it's a big enough,
that could very well cause panic.
If it's a big enough asteroid where it could be a life, altering or ending event. You're my age. You remember what happened in Watts, right? The writing and then all the stuff, what happened, and it just happened really fast. I got a funny feeling if we knew, hey, 2 weeks from now, an asteroid's going to hit Earth and end Earth as we know it, people won't care. There's going to be a segment of people that'll go out and do whatever they wanted to do, bad or good. And we're going to have mass riots. We're going to have a whole bunch of stuff going on to the very end. The same way, I don't think now that they can come out and say, yeah, we're being visited. We don't have no control. Our military can't stop it. So, I just feel we just been lied to, and we can't, at this point, they're not going to tell us. And it's going to be years. It's going to take something major happening where a UFO crashes in a populated area or lands in a populated area, or something happens. And that's what it's going to take. Yeah,
it very well could. And I think we have to remember the government's capability of controlling public information. If you have a crash, if they can get control of the perimeter, and the area, and get control of the information, all they have to do is say it was a classified aircraft, okay, and it was classified, and you really can't go much further than that, to get more information. But if they land at the Super Bowl, or something like that, then that seems almost too obvious. It's too simple. It seems like a science fiction movie. But then when you look at all of the UFO stories that we've heard since the 1940s and the things that have happened, and with all of these abductions, a lot of that sounds like a bad science fiction movie.
It does.
So we don't have hard proof and confirmation.
Now, Tom, is there any way, if anybody wants to get a hold of you, do you have a website or anything you want to share here? We're down to like 3 minutes.
Yeah, I have a blog, and it's named TomWhitmoreBlog.wordpress.com. That's TomWhitmoreBlog.wordpress.com, and that's where I'm reporting the work that I've been doing at the National Archives and the Library of Congress. And I also throw in some notes about the institutions themselves and some things that I do in the Washington, D.C. area.
Interesting. Well, I'm glad you're able to move where you moved, where you can actually do what you enjoy doing. Now, if you run across anything you want to share, you know how to get a hold of me. So, hey, get a hold of me, because we'll get you on no matter what we have to do.
Oh, sure. And, as I do more of this work, and if I turn up more clues, or if I turn up interesting relationships, or I turn up any interesting documents, I'll sure let you know, Gary, and maybe we can talk again in a few months, okay?
Okay, sir. Well, hey, thank